It is now my great honor and pleasure to introduce David A. Breach from the class of 1994. I invited David to serve as our alumni speaker today, not only because he has been an incredibly successful lawyer and a highly respected leader in the business world for many years, but also because of the journey he's taken to get there. Born in Toronto and raised in southeastern Michigan, David Breach graduated from high school at the age of 16 and then became the first in his family to attend college. He enrolled at Eastern Michigan University, where in addition to going to school, he worked a full-time job selling meat products and bottled juice while taking night classes to earn his business degree, a path that took him 6 years to complete. After graduating from Eastern Michigan on the advice of the only lawyer he knew at the time, who was a staff attorney at the juice company where he worked, David enrolled at the Detroit College of Law. And there, for the first time, he found himself truly and fully captivated by the academic life. He was a very good student. After earning straight A's for 2 semesters, he transferred to the University of Michigan Law School, where he thrived, graduating with an exceptional academic record and earning membership in the Order of the Coif. Following law school, David began his legal career at Hahn & Miller in Detroit. After 5 years there, he joined the large law firm of Kirkland & Ellis in Chicago, where he built a successful practice representing private equity clients. And after a few years in Chicago, David was among the K&E partners who helped establish the firm's office in San Francisco. His work in private equity there led eventually to his position at Vista Equity Partners, which is one of his longtime clients at the time. He joined them in 2014 as the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Legal Officer. Today, after leading the company through a period of extraordinary growth, he serves as both Chief Operating Officer and President. He is a truly extraordinary alum of the University of Michigan Law School and someone of whom we're very proud. Please join me in welcoming David A. Breach to Ann Arbor.
Well, I have to say it's no small task following Britt, and I feel like he stole a lot of my thunder. So Dean Logue, distinguished faculty, alumni, proud parents, and of course the graduates of the 2025 Michigan School of Law, I need to let you in on a little secret. You see, I wasn't supposed to be here. Standing at this podium, surrounded by some of the greatest legal minds, asked to impart wisdom about life, your professional careers, and this unknowable future that we're all facing, I can't help but think it wasn't supposed to be me up here. As Dean noted, 35 years ago, I was working as a bottled juice salesman, going to school at night, wondering what my life was going to be. To be honest, I wasn't making much progress in my degree. Strangely enough, I liked selling juice more than I liked going to school. As Dean noted, I graduated high school at 16 because I was double promoted from 3rd grade to 5th grade while I was in Canada, because it turns out I was phenomenal at recess. And actually, I learned my times tables quicker than my classmates. And so, while I graduated at 16, I had a completely unexceptional record, completely average student. I did have to correct, I was not the first person to go to college. My older brother, sitting in the front row, is going to take homage with that. I was second, but we did grow up in a family where our parents grew up in a rural part of Canada and did not graduate high school. But during my time at Eastern, I found a love of work, and I started working full-time and going to school at night. And my academic pursuits really took a secondary role in my life. So how did I wind up here, a juice salesman from Eastern Michigan, as a proud graduate of the University of Michigan Law School, and as the president of one of the largest private equity firms in the United States? That's a little bit of what I want to share with you today, because along my journey, I learned some lessons that really served me well. And I hope that as you are all on the next phase of your journey, some of this will resonate with you. You know, it's interesting, when I told Dean Logue what my topic of my speech was going to be, I said, you know, I'm not supposed to be here. And he said, you know what, David, there's a lot of folks sitting in front of you who probably feel the same way. So we're going to talk about that today. Now, I'm not here to tell you how to be successful, how to get rich, how to accumulate wealth and power, because that's not actually where true happiness comes from. Finding a real richness in your life doesn't have to do with the influence that you accumulate or your material success, but it really has everything to do with fulfillment, with your inspiration, with whether you think you're doing what you were put on this earth to do, and the relationships that you develop along the way that really enrich your life. I'm very fortunate for my professional achievements, but I'm actually more fortunate for the 30-year journey that I've been on and the joy that it's brought me, and really the support that I've had from my family, from my friends, and from my mentors that have enabled me to achieve heights that I didn't think I ever knew about, let alone thought I could achieve. You know, when I talk to folks, I say, in my experience, successful people have had three things converge. They've had talent, they've worked hard for their success, but they've also been lucky along the way. Now, all of you are clearly talented, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here. And when the dean walked through your statistics, I realized I couldn't be here anymore, although I'm glad I'm here now. But that talent is not enough to take where you want to be. And by the way, you've all been told that you need to work hard in life to be successful, to get ahead. But that's not really what you need to do. You need to work hard, but you need to do it over an extended period of time. People really underestimate the power of stamina, the power of getting up every day, week after week, month after month, year after year, and presenting your best self. And what makes that so hard? Because life is going to get in the way. You're going to have difficulties. You might have a boss that gives you a bad review. You may have a family member that's afflicted with an illness. You may have relationship issues. You may have other circumstances that just come up outside of your control. And the real question is going to be, can you overcome those setbacks? Can you overcome those obstacles and continue to stay focused on your goal and continue to show up every day being your best self? Now, some of these issues are going to be mistakes that you all made or that I made. And the real question is, as you make those mistakes, are you going to learn from them and use that to move you forward? And then other times it's going to be something completely outside of your control. And the real question is going to be, how do you react to it? How do you overcome it? How do you process it? And how do you keep yourself moving forward? Well, work isn't everything in life. Most of you are going to devote a substantial amount of your daily lives to some pursuit that you find worthy. And all I can tell you is that showing up day after day as a diligent, committed person is going to take you much further than what you might expect and that what many of your peers out there are going to do. You know, I wasn't the most talented student to arrive at Michigan. I certainly wasn't the best lawyer that ever joined Kirkland & Ellis. I'm clearly not the smartest person working at Vista. But I am someone that has relentlessly pursued my goals and really kept my goals in front of me, always moving forward. So great, you're going to work hard. You're going to have that stamina. Well, how do you do that? The next most important thing, or my next piece of advice for all of you, is that you won't be able to commit yourself the way you need to commit yourself unless you find something that you're truly passionate about. And by the way, it's okay if you don't find that right away. You know, they tell you do what you love, but it's not always easy to find out what you love until you actually find it. Very few people have a career that's linear. Nowadays, people are going to move from one thing to the next. They're going to find out something that they're good at. Maybe they're going to find out something that they're not so good at. But someday, I hope that you will find your passion and you will throw everything into it. And it's okay if you don't find it right away. I was 29 years old, almost turning 30, when I found out what I was supposed to do on this earth. And that's when I joined Honigman Miller and became a corporate lawyer, and I knew that's what I was put here to do. So don't worry if you don't find it right away, it's okay. You can get a little bit of a late start like me. It'll turn out all right if you find out what you need. So I would just tell you, You're going to have a long career. You won't be able to make the sacrifices that success requires. You won't be able to sustain it if you're not doing something that is a love of yours and that you feel is worthy of your time and that you have passion for. So I would just encourage you, if you don't find it right away, don't worry. Keep looking and find it. The third thing that I'll tell you is you've heard of the expression, don't be afraid of failure. It's a fixture of commencement speeches like this at prestigious universities. While there's some important humility in that lesson, I don't think you should go about life trying to wait for failure. I try and think about it another way. Be willing to take risks and put yourself in uncomfortable situations where you're unproven and see what you can do. Throughout my career, I was given opportunities to do things that I was completely unproven in. I certainly was unproven as a lawyer because it's not like my juice sales really prepared me for that. When I decided to move to Kirkland & Ellis, I loved being a lawyer, and I was jumping into a new environment where I was going to focus on private equity, unsure if I was actually going to be good at it or not. When Kirkland asked me to move to San Francisco and lead an office, I'd never had that experience before, but I wanted to see what I could do. And then when I got called by my largest client to pivot my career from law to finance, I certainly had no proven ability as an investor in the finance world, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep doing what I can do to see where I'm going to fail. And so I put myself in these uncomfortable situations and was I guess, willing to fail, but fundamentally wanting to find out what I was capable of doing. And I will just encourage you, you will never regret if you bet on yourself. The decisions that I made in hindsight as I stand here seem very obvious. They seem like no-brainers. I can tell you in every one of those moments, they were fraught with uncertainty, with nervousness, with not knowing if this next thing was going to be where I was found out. A lot of us have imposter syndrome. I certainly do as well. And so that willingness to push through and find out is what helped open up a world to me that I didn't know existed based on the way that I grew up. So last but not least, I think one of the great life hacks is gratitude. You will have a happier life, you will have a more successful career if you approach life through the lens of gratitude. All of us, you're all incredibly talented people. You've all obviously worked very hard to get here, and I'm sure many of you are going to work hard in the next phase of your life. In my professional career, I run into many people who are talented and they work hard and they're entitled and have no gratitude. They don't understand this third element, that in order to be successful, you've got to be a little bit lucky. There's someone that chose to mentor you for no random reason. You made a career decision that you weren't sure was going to work out or not, and it turned out to be a fantastic decision. If you can hold on to that notion that it's not just about me, that my success is not just because I'm so good and because I work so hard, but because there's been this other hand out there touching me along the way and guiding me and giving me these opportunities, I think you'll be a much happier person and you'll approach the sacrifices that you make to be successful with joy rather than with burden. You know, I'm in a role where I deal with problems all day. And when I'm really having a tough day and I feel like a lot's coming at me, I sit back and I say, you know what? People would love to have my problems. And it completely reframes my mind. And as I encounter that problem, I say, I'm the one that gets to have this problem. How lucky is that for me? And that's what drives me and gives me energy as I go through the difficult moments that we're all going to face. So I would just encourage you, as you're moving through your career, to keep hold of that gratitude, to try and fight the urge to be entitled, because it's in all of us. We've all worked hard. We think there's certain things that we deserve, but be grateful, enjoy your journey. And I think, you know, my wife, Emily, who's here in the audience, she will tell you that through 30 years of really hard work, I've really had a lot of fun and have enjoyed the journey, and I think it's because of this notion of gratitude that infuses me every day. Now, last but not least, I am an investor in technology, so I do want to spend a minute talking about generative AI. You're like, oh, shit. So listen, generative AI is going to profoundly change knowledge workers. There are 1 billion knowledge workers in the world. Many of those jobs are going to be profoundly affected, including the legal profession. I'm not smart enough to tell you exactly how it's going to be affected, but I know it will be, and this technology is rapidly developing. What I would encourage each of you to do is to embrace it, to make it a strength, to understand it, to figure out how to harness it, to understand what its weaknesses are, and to not avoid it or be afraid of it, but to embrace it. Those of you that embrace this technology are going to be much further ahead than those that do not. And so don't view it, I'm a software investor. We don't view generative AI as a threat. We view it as an opportunity. And you all should view it as an opportunity yourselves. You know, one of the great things, you are all studying law that's like 100, 200 years old. This is all new. So you're at the very forefront of it, and you're in the best position to embrace it, to leverage it, and to make it really an important part of your career. So I would encourage you to do so. You're going to have to be flexible. You're going to have to be adaptable. You're going to have to think in new paradigms and in new ways, but I would encourage you to do it. And as the dean and I were talking about earlier today, you know, Michigan is going to have to figure it out as well as we prepare students for the coming generations of lawyers. So, class of 2025, be grateful for the challenges that you're about to face. Because I'm up here, I get to spend a minute telling you what I'm grateful for. Looking out at all these proud parents and family members, I can't imagine the times that you're going to have tonight celebrating this amazing success. I know how hard it is to get through this. But I'm reminded how grateful that I am. Through my journey, I've had an amazing wife that's been by my side. She met me while I was at Michigan, and she's been with me for 36 years. I've got 3 wonderful kids that remind me, Dad, you're no big deal. I'm like, come on, guys, today. Yesterday, they told me how their commencement speakers were completely unforgettable. So that's kind of what you want going into a speech like this. And I have my 2 brothers with me today who, if anyone taught me grit and toughness, it was growing up with those 2 brothers of mine. So thank you for being here as well. You know, Dean Logue mentioned my father, who didn't graduate high school, was a butcher, and rose to be an executive with A&P Supermarkets. For some of you in the audience, you'll remember A&P. And he taught me how to work hard. My mother, who also grew up in rural Canada and also did not graduate high school, she went back to school in her 50s and got her GED, and then was a tutor for 20 years helping other kids get their GEDs. So while my dad taught me how to work hard, my mom, she taught me how to work smart, and they both enabled me to be here today. So I would just like to say, work hard and sustain it. Find your passion. Be grateful along the way of your journey, and push yourself into uncomfortable situations where you will grow, and someday you will be someplace that you aren't supposed to be. So thank you very much, and go blue.